Hello and welcome to the Feast or Famine podcast where everything is on the table. I'm your host, Preston.
And I am your other host, Chris.
Yes, sir. So, Chris, I recently have decided I'm actually going to protest the grocery store that I work at. I mean, H-E-B is a great company, but I read something on the internet that it blew my mind. It changed my entire world.
Really? What you got? Let's hear it.
So, it's tearing up just thinking about it because this is just the truth that's just been hidden from us for so long. I heard that everybody who eats food dies. It's crazy, dude. Like the entire food industry.
Stop it right now. Yeah. Stop the pod. I can't go on any longer. My day has changed now.
Like, maybe it's anywhere between immediately or 80 years. There's a bit of a variance to it, but inevitably everybody who eats food, they just end up dying. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, no.
And welcome to Feast and Famine.
And welcome to Feast or Famine. Yeah, got him.
What a segue.
But for real, though, I honestly fucking hate it how often people will just believe anything that they read on the internet. I think it's important to have a worldly knowledge and to be willing to consider other people's experiences. Don't get me wrong, don't be closed-minded and assume everything on the internet is false. But at the same time, like even with us, like I'm gonna put a disclaimer out anytime I talk. Fact check me. Do it. I'm not saying that as like
the fuck out of me. I actually say that every episode.
Yeah, I think we have said it I think we brought up the idea of that.
The internet's this place where like fake information is just so abundant that I'm open to always being critiqued or corrected because we are 100%. Just two dudes, right? And I think that's what makes this so dope and what makes other podcasts so dope is that like the relatability, right?
Yes,
like you don't have to. Yeah, like there's obviously a lot of douchey pods out there that have like their 1,000 fucking, advertisements or their agenda or whatever's going on.
All right, 5 seconds in and we're already going to an advertisement.
And we ain't at the bar. Nah, yeah. Like, for real, it's just crazy. It's very commodified. And I think that, man, I'm with you. I'm on board with that. You can't believe everything you hear, bro.
Yeah, even if somebody is relatable, like, I'd hope that we're at least somewhat relatable, but, like, at the same time, don't believe everything we say either. Like, we can be wrong, and if anything, that's what makes it more interesting is we're not strictly, stuck to having to report only the facts on something. Like, we're not reporters, we're not journalists.
Exactly.
That's the job of a journalist or a reporter is to just give you the facts, whereas with us, we're just people talking.
Stiff anyways. That makes things more stiff because
exactly.
We can't really flow like water. We're kind of confined to the cup, so to speak, because there's a obvious guideline there of what
And with the kind of stuff that we're talking about, like I feel like you can achieve almost a kind of, and maybe this is sounding a little too deep, but I feel like sometimes you can achieve a kind of deeper truth. Like you can get into like philosophy and how like humans can really relate to each other. Like, we brought up things on this podcast before, like how food is so heavily commodified, how it's really, really an important, integral part of human civilization.
We dabble in the deep. All right. We are in the deep end of the pool sometimes. Yeah. I think that's important.
We be rolling in the deep, as someone very famous once said.
Yeah, bro. Now I'm thinking about that astronaut in the ocean song, and I don't know why. I don't think there's any correlation there. But that's such a bad song and overused that at this point it's like a meme to even mention it. So,
I mean, literally. Like, I'm pretty sure there's an entire subsection of TikTok that's dedicated to ironically using the song.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Very satire, for sure.
But
yeah, man, how you been? How is Texas like? What's going on?
It's been pretty good. Thankfully, I mean, it's still pretty humid sometimes, but like I've said before, I think June, like in the middle of June, is probably the worst part.
That's
when
Texas. Like the humidity is just smacking people in the face, like
just
Olympic.
nonstop. Yeah, exactly. You're just constantly
mosquitoes, like. Dude, when I was there and we hit the gas station, let me just tell this story. This is a true story for everyone listening. True story. But anyways. So I'm at the gas station, or I think we went to get some liquor or something to that effect. Yeah. And I walk outside and like, like that creepy music on SpongeBob when like something's wrong. It's like, I looked to the corner and there was actually like a gang of mosquitoes on the corner. What? And they were throwing up gang signs at me and stuff. And that music was playing. It was like
they were like they had their Tech 9s twisted and just aimed randomly.
Bro. Like they literally looked like NWA when they came out.
Shit.
Like they were all wearing Lokes, and like every mosquito was ready to kill. That's how bad. That's how bad the humidity is there. Like the mosquitoes are in different gangs.
That's why I keep hearing gunshots. Fuck.
Literally, bro.
Now.
They're just happening from micro pistols, like from that the mosquitoes have, because they're not biting you. They are attacking you in full onslaught in that humidity. That I will say.
Shit.
Houston, it was insane for mosquitoes. Like, I'm sure that there's mosquito gangs actually happening. We just don't know how to track it.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously you got the Bloods. I mean, it's a mosquito. I don't know what other gangs there are, but there's at least the Bloods.
That's the only gang that matters to
That's
mosquitoes.
That's the only gang that matters to the mosquitoes.
That is funny as fuck, bro.
Holy shit. I'm so glad that I managed to come up with at least one pun this episode. My quota is filled.
There it was. The quota's filled. That's the name of the episode. Write that down.
Quota is filled.
So yeah, man, just speaking of Texas, it really makes me think about, potentially moving, as we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm. So are you going to move to Texas, or are you definitely moving to California?
So I've said a lot here, but I'll say this now, and you guys could mark me down as episode 5. Or no, this is episode 6.
This is episode 6, yeah.
Keep me honest here, guys, as we just mentioned. I said that I was going to do like a 30-day. First of all, it's insane. Like, I'm not a rapper, like I don't have that kind of mobility. I got to really settle somewhere. So the plan now is to go to Northern Cali, sink my teeth in, really get it popping there, and then in a year or two, kind of settle as a Texas brand, more or less, because or even just both, but it needs to start in California for sure, bro. So
I think that's not a terrible idea. I mean, obviously I'm biased. I'm going to want you to come to Texas first.
For sure.
We have so many good things here in Texas, like especially around the area that I live in. You got like the Woodlands, which has a lot of money. You have Houston itself, which is just such a hype city. I mean, it's where a bunch of rappers have come from in recent times. I mean, you got wow, I actually cannot think of his name, which is the funniest thing.
There's a lot of rappers in Houston.
No, I know, but he's like
Chameleonaire.
Oh my god, literally
Slim
starts
Thug.
with a T. And I know I'm gonna get so much flack for not even Travis Scott. Holy crap! How could I? I literally could not think of his name for just
Travis
complete brain.
Scott's
And it's not because I hate the guy. I mean, I don't necessarily like his music, but I don't hate the guy. It's just a case of like, well, I couldn't think of his name. Oh my god, I'm losing brain cells, man. I swear.
He was with the Kardashian. Goddammit, it! You better get it together. That guy's
You're right. Now. I gotta know. Like, especially in this day and age, I mean,
he hit the crossover like Allen Iverson, bro. Like,
I'm gonna start
a Kardashian. All white people should know your name.
Exactly.
So you're on the hook for this one. You are white. So, like, the fact you don't know this.
You got me. Hey, they weren't supposed to know that I was white. This is a secret that I was keeping. This is very important to me. How dare you? Yeah, I mean, I really should know his name, especially.
Don't cancel me.
So you've already been canceled. Don't worry about it. You were. So what somebody did was they went back in time to cancel you. That's how hard it was. That's how serious it was. For something that you didn't even say yet. Don't worry about it. But they already went back in time to cancel you from future.
I feel like canceled really means suspended. Shout out to Tory Lanez, because he said that the other day, and I was like, it's so true.
That's
like 8 months ago, people wanted to kill Tory Lanez because of alleged things that had happened, and then it's like now he's putting out music that's on the top 10 charts again, and it's like nothing even happened. It was just like, for that time, we were just saying we don't fuck with you anymore. Like, you're canceled.
That's actually kind of interesting, because the way that you put that,
you can come back.
Yeah, you can come back, like, for better or worse. Like, you could also say that that's something about how impotent canceling really is and how it's all really in your mind. I mean,
Trump was canceled and he almost won the election again. Like,
literally.
You know what I'm saying? So
like literally 4 years straight of being canceled, and the dude still managed to almost win another election. So
it's really however you leverage that, I guess.
You can leverage any situation, I think, in your favor. Again, for better or worse, which is why I think it's careful to, going back to what we were saying earlier, not believing everything you see on the internet, because it's so easy to just straight up slander or libel somebody. Like, it's crazy how easy it is and how little laws there really are to protect you. Because 9 times out of 10, if you're saying this stuff on like Twitter or something, you can't sue them. I mean, there's people who are trying to get that removed. And honestly, this is going to be the hottest take. I think it's about time. I think that Twitter and Facebook have evaded responsibility for policing their users, and I know that sounds like almost authoritarian, and in a bit it almost kind of is, but I feel like at the same time, if they don't do it, they're bypassing the First Amendment to begin with. So It's like, you kind of have to have some.
You could say anything, or you can't say certain things, and nobody's actually policing it, but the people.
Right. Oh yeah, the people in parentheses. The
people. Yes, exactly. I literally did the parentheses.
So it's literally one of those things of, I mean, it's so easy to believe a conspiracy theory as well because I think they're like trying to crack down on that kind of stuff, but the problem is obviously then you have political control and bias and that sort of thing. But even on just like the individual level, like, you know, the common average person can just slander somebody like that.
Oh, absolutely,
and
bro.
That's something that I think, if anything, Twitter and Facebook and all of them should be focusing more on and less on trying to fact check. Because I feel like they're wasting more of their time with that. Because at the end of the day, you should be willing to take everything you say that's stated as fact as a grain of salt. But if somebody says something specifically about another person, like specifically, not just about a situation, because I think there is a different level of fact checking and reporting that you should just inherently be willing to understand with events and whatnot.
Put it like this, right? If you're policing your users, the fact checking police need to be less prevalent, because then the users police themselves, because you've already kind of filtered it down to where there isn't so many people saying things or facts that aren't.
Yeah.
You know, like your sample size or your margin for that is going to be a lot smaller because you've already kind of sifted through the shit.
It's what I like to call the authoritarian fallacy, where, you know, you take this position of authority, you try to, you know, ease off some of the harsher elements, especially when it comes to policing people's speech. You kind of shave off that edge a little bit, but then the more you do it, it becomes a hydra. You know, you cut it off and it just grows 9 more heads. Like, it's crazy how there's something, I don't know if you've ever heard of it or if anybody in the audience has heard of it, but it's something called the Streisand effect. And it was an old story, and I know I'm gonna probably it's my heart will definitely always go on. But it's definitely an interesting effect. So the Streisand effect actually came from an old news story where some people had like saw a picture of like Barbra Streisand's house on like some thing or another, and she tried to like take it down, but the more effort that she put into trying to take it down and take down the pictures, the more people were interested in it, because the censorship made people think, what are they trying to hide? Ooh, and I feel like in a lot of ways, this, if anything, gives more legitimacy to the conspiracy theory like bullshit. Whereas if you left it completely just unintended, most people would, I think, actually ignore it. But if you start censoring it, people are like, do they have a point? Which dude's name?
the dude Infowars.
Oh, Alex Jones. Yeah.
Alex Jones, he's down there in Texas, and like, he's a great example of that, right? Where like a lot of people wanted to fact check him. They say he's kind of like a radical guy, or like whatever the case is. But it's like, the more they censored him, though, the more he sold more products, and the bigger his own platform became because of the allure of it. Right.
Yeah. Like, regardless of what you think of him and what you think of what he says.
Right. I had a buddy that was huge into him. I was never really into him because I truly did feel like it was propaganda, even though I did agree with some of the shit he said.
Yeah,
It was just like the way he does it, it's kind of culty. So
yeah, definitely.
He's grown more because of that, though, because there's an allure to it now. He's not just some guy on YouTube.
Exactly.
It's like this corner of the internet now that like people can hold sacred and kind of treat it in a gangish way. Like, yo, I'm with the Infowars gang, bro.
Okay, so it's actually funny you bring that up because this is another thing that I did want to talk about a little bit is the idea of what it means to like have a family, so to speak. So the idea of family is obviously, the classical idea is like blood relations, like Absolutely. The idea of you're related to somebody. And
it's either nuclear family or
something like that. It was invented in the 50s.
Like a family tree.
Families didn't exist before the 50s, I'm pretty sure, but it was this weird idea that came around, and
goddamn 50s.
They just ruined everything.
Somebody somewhere just ripped a grant, like the $50 bill, just ripped it in half.
How dare you!
Wrong 50s. We're talking about the 1950s. Don't ruin your $50 bills.
Yeah,
all right?
Save
Continue,
those,
Preston.
stash those.
Continue. Or you could send them to us.
Oh yeah,
P.O. Box 143, Croydon, Pennsylvania, at White Bulls Barbecue.
There you go. And
shameless plug. Send us shit.
You will get some delicious spices. Yeah, definitely shameless plug. I don't even make money off of saying this, by the way. I'm just straight up saying, I mean, maybe I'll make money off the podcast, but like, I don't make money off of shilling White Bulls. I'm going to tell you that right now. I do it because I genuinely think that they're great products, and it would blow my mind if it is not one of the most popular brands within the next year. Like, I would be genuinely surprised if it's not in the top, like, 5 in, like, grocery store chains and these BuzzFeed articles and, like, this, that, and the other thing. Because, seriously, White Bulls is definitely...
We're going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, like, call me your hype man, fucking whatever you want, but legit, I think it's one of those products that, like, it's like, oh, yeah, no, this is just, it's like a staple. Like, I can already see it there, so.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, bro, because it's like, everybody that's been a part of this has had to kind of have that understanding, that it's like, okay, this is a startup, but I really believe in it, and I believe in what Chris is doing, so, like, on the back end, things will be great. There's nothing like being at the forefront of something, right? Like you're one of the first people to just say that, basically. Like, look, I don't even get paid for this. Like, that's a true startup for you. And like, I believe in it. So like, it's not just us blowing smoke. Like, which again connects us more to the people and connects me more to you in a sense, because it's like there's an open discussion of transaction there where it's like you understand you won't get paid, but you also understand you're getting a great product, and you understand the product before most do, and there's kind of like a time stamp on that. And then specifically for you, like, obviously as this plays out, it'll be more beneficial for you specifically. Like, even just the consumers that believe,
I'll admit
it. They're kind of buying it. It's like throwing your nickel or your fucking quarter in the well, so to speak. And then before you know it, that well is overflowing, and it's more fruitful than it ever was as an idea of just something to support.
100%. And I think that because and I brought this up a little bit earlier, is the idea of family and what it really means. Like, to me, the reason why people often refer to each other as brother, like you and I are like, hey brother, what's up, that kind of thing, is because they're not literally, like, I can't believe I'm explaining this, and I'm sure it's one of those things that like everybody knows, but it's like, they're obviously not literally your family, but the idea is, I think, still not super talked about that much. It's just like there's a tacit acceptance of, okay, well, it's obviously not their family, there's blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, well, why do you think they're calling them brother? Why do you think they're calling them sister? Why do you think they're calling each other fam or family?
It's that sense of family.
Yeah, and sometimes it's ironically, you'll see some dude walking down the street. Yeah, okay, bro. Or, you see somebody walking down the street and their shoes are completely untied. You're like, hey, fam, your shoes are untied.
Right.
Yeah, there's a little bit of irony, but I think when people
say,
you see
like the memes where it's like, I got you, fam, and it's like something dramatic. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite fucking memes. I am a very simple man, by the way. I love even the lowest brow and stupidest of memes. And keeping in mind, I have been like on like the deeper parts of the internet since 2006, since I was like 14. I legitimately have just been consuming memes nonstop.
Not to cut you off. This is a meme, and I don't want to get political, but I found this hilarious. It's a kid riding a bike. It says, gets vaccinated. He's holding a stick. He puts the stick in the wheel. It says, gets COVID. Hold on. He falls and breaks his knee. And he's laying there, and the bubble says, fucking unvaccinated people.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, man. What a meme. Like,
what a fucking meme.
What a fucking
like, regardless
meme,
of what
dude.
you think of
exactly.
like, vaccinations and COVID, I think that's still pretty fucking funny. It just breaks down,
like, the stupidity of the perspective, right? It's
like exactly.
People literally get mad at people that don't get vaccinated, and it's like, you still got the virus. So, like,
yeah.
What does anybody really know what the fuck's going on? You know,
exactly.
What I mean? So,
like, get a little.
We have to get off that subject because the pandemic just sucks balls. But
oh yeah, no, it does.
We can all agree on that. But
I think we can also all agree that like there are better things that we as a society could be doing about this pandemic. Like, regardless of what you think that is, I think that that's a darker subject. And normally I'm okay with it, but bitch don't kill my vibe. So
bitch don't kill my vibe.
That's how I get DMCA'd. Shit.
Nah, listen, we're keeping it positive, but I said that not to be dramatic or even really touch on that subject. It was just to show the power of a good meme. Like,
power of a good meme.
As far when I say good too, I mean like the message, like the way it's. If you're witty enough, like you said, lowbrow. Like sometimes there's super punny memes, where it's like the pun is so like obvious.
It's so
that
simple.
It's more hilarious. Exactly.
It's like it touches on the more baser instincts of your brain, like the monkey part of your brain that's like
right. It's the Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah,
effect.
Exactly. It's so good.
I'm with you on that. I honestly am.
Humor really is, when you think about it, humor is ultimately just another form of expression. It's another way for humans to communicate, and the whole point of expression and communication is to build those deeper bonds with each other. Like, when you get down to it, and this is, I'm sure, something that people will argue with me about, but go ahead and at me. I will argue about it all day long, and I will die on this hill. The whole purpose of art is expression, and expression, ergo, is extremely important for human interaction. Therefore, you could really say that art is just a staple of, like, you know, just the like most basic of basic human cultures. That's why I think it's so important to not censor people's ability to express themselves, and why I think it's important to maintain an even playing field for various different people. Even if some people are more popular, even if they're, you know, total liars, if you try to end up, you know, censoring them, they're just going to get more popular.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important then to really, you know, connect with who you see as your family, the people that you have had those real bonds and experiences with, to judge whether or not something is completely bullshit or not. Because if all of you, you know, look at something independently with your different views, because, you know, usually even if you're relating to somebody, you still have different perspectives. It's literally impossible to live somebody else's life.
We're not going to agree on everything. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you and I don't agree on anything, and I'm sure we could have like a full-fledged debate about the things that we don't agree on, or at least I could. I don't know. I mean, I think I'd win that debate because I'd win every time. But you know.
I should have been a lawyer, so I don't know, bro.
Right?
I don't know. Well, but I get the point though, 100%.
Yeah. Like, we can still argue with each other, but still like be quote unquote family. And I think that's important to consider, because then when you have that kind of bond with somebody else, you can then independently look at something and really tell if it's bullshit or not. And I know that's not exactly using strict amounts of reasoning, but I think it acts as a societal balance and check to larger forces who do lie consistently about things. You know, if you have multiple people looking at the same thing and they all see different things, it's kind of like the people in have you ever heard of the
blue dress, white dress challenge?
Oh, oh man. Okay, that one is a whole. Okay, this is a
like
tangent.
In a different way, that kind of explains the difference in perspective, though.
Sort of. Yeah, literally, because
it's just visually.
The only reason why some people were seeing it one way, it had nothing to do with certain people being colorblind or any other bullshit. It literally just had to do with the type of monitor that you had. Like, people with laptops who would view it at a certain angle, the way that the I think it's like the white balance or something. Yeah. So literally, it was different perspectives. It wasn't a case of something that are, you know, deep.
It's a different kind of different perspective, right?
Yeah, and I think in of itself that can matter too, because, you know, the reason why you might see something as X may be because literally how you access that information. Like, that could be the
100%.
entire, like, I think it's important to have a deep understanding of how you intake information, just like on any level. Like, oh, my phone says it's about to die. Okay, why do you think it's going to die? Just sometimes, every now and again, not all the time, because then you'll go insane and then you'll become me. But you don't want to become me.
This is like a life diary right now.
Right? You basically...
Like, wait a minute. Is this a confession?
You basically want to, every now and again, just analyze your surroundings. Analyze the information that you're taking on. Be willing to be skeptical on a completely random...
Don't believe everything you see.
Think of it like a random drug test for your brain, where you're like, am I basically just being
I get what
drugged?
you're saying. Keep yourself honest.
Yeah, keep yourself, exactly. Keep yourself honest. Fucking honest with yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only person who really can control you at the end of the day. So if you're not keeping yourself honest, chances are likely nobody else is either. And that's a scary thing. You don't want to end up becoming the person who's lying up and down the street. That's dangerous territory, because you might not even realize that, you're believing into all this bullshit, and you're the one that's, spewing, just conspiracy theories and things that aren't even remotely connected to reality.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, man. 100%. You got to keep yourself in check.
Yeah.
So you don't end up being a tinfoil hat wearing...
just complete loon,
or whatever. Like, it can go either way. Some people get too radical one way or the other.
And
but
even if you're right about what you're saying, even if you're right about some of the things you're saying, if there's
that's
no
kind of what you're
relatability,
saying. It's like, there's no need to be radical. We can all kind of relate in the middle somewhere and still disagree, right?
Be a human, Be willing to communicate
let's
with
bring
people.
It back to the human level.
There's people where, like, my first instinct is going to be, like, I do not want to talk to this person. This person looks like a son of a bitch piece of shit. But you know what? I smile. I speak to them. And you know what? My perspective completely changes the second they start speaking. And I'm like, see? That's why sometimes it's important to just put aside your prejudice about other people. Be willing to hear a different perspective.
Have an open mind, hear new perspectives, and learn about life, people.
You don't have to believe them. You don't have to believe them at all. You don't have to believe everything.
Again, perspective. Like, I'll say this, and we'll kind of close that segment, because I think this is a good closer. Like, if you had a camera, right, and it was like 35 millimeter wide lens, right, like that's a dope perspective. You're gonna get good pictures, et cetera, et cetera. But then if you had people standing, in a 360 around you with the same camera, and maybe you don't like the way their picture looks as much. When you're done looking at all of the pictures, though, you'll have a panoramic view, or like a bird's eye view. Like, if you're gaining so much perspective that you're seeing the world differently. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to say, is like, don't be afraid to look at those other pictures. Even if you always like your picture better or your view on it better, it's okay to see the other pictures of it or the other view of it.
Build that panorama.
Yeah, exactly. And respect the other pictures, because the panorama makes it all go.
Exactly.
And now that I'm done being Wizard Chris.
I mean, honestly, this is the kind of territory that I like to go in. This is my.
Oh, we're diving in the deep.
Hell yeah, I love it, man. But
it's dope. I mean, it relates to the show, right? Because if we don't open this, we don't turn this key to some parts of people's mind, then we're not doing our audience the proper. The like proper service here. Like, this is really, truly an open discussion. We talk about food and white bulls a lot, but listen, man, I dabble in the deep.
And I think that's what makes the whole experience of even having a meal with somebody else, and we brought this up before.
For sure. We could have had this convo over food. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, literally. That's exactly the thought that I was having. And
instead, we're giving food for thought.
Yeah, it's
and this is our table
conversation. Yeah, exactly. Like, dinner table conversation shouldn't be, hey, how was your... It shouldn't be small talk. It should be, all right, we're relaxing. Let's talk about something that's actually interesting, because, we have each other's company.
Right.
And sometimes that's all you got.
I think that's why it's dope that the show is a half hour, too, because it's like, it is kind of more like dinner, Like, you usually don't sit at dinner for an hour. It's about a 15, 20, half hour.
I mean, I do, but I'm terrible. I'm the worst. Don't go to dinner with me. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, like, even the average dinner, right? Like,
I know
a lot of people are eating like 5 minutes, if the people really enjoy the experience, like a half hour to an hour. You know, if you really get weird with it, maybe you eat dinner for like 2 hours. But like, it's all up. Yeah, right. It's all up to interpretation. But we just want this to feel like you're sitting at our table and everything's on the table. So I'm down with dabbling in the deep for sure, man. Now you got 100%. Me thinking about being 30.
Yeah. Oh no. I'm getting there, man. We're gonna be 30-year-old boomers.
Yeah, man. Ugh. I'm Gen Z now, or no, I'm Gen X, or what Gen are we? Who even knows anymore?
I think we're technically millennials.
Right, we're definitely millennials, but
we're on the older end of millennials.
Right.
Is what it is. Gen X, I think, ended in like 1988 or
that's
something.
That's what I mean. Okay, so that's the generation before us, right?
Yeah, Gen X is the generation. Yeah, exactly. It's the generational definitions is always so shaky, but yeah.
It's just weird to me that people think 30's old. You know, like a lot of people have been joking with me. And when I said let's get deep, it's kind of because it's like, yeah, it is kind of something to think about. But at the end of the day, man, it's not that old, bro.
Yeah, like the average life expectancy of somebody is increased so much. Like, yeah, there's parts of your body, like, might start slowing down in some regards, but not always. Like, there's people who are in their 30s who are still just, absolute MMA champions who are just the best athletes in the world.
A lot of MMA champions are 37. What?
Yeah, literally. Like still actively participating.
Yeah, like towards the back end of your 30s and early 40s is where you start to lose that step. But like your 30s is like, bro, that's a good place.
I think the best way to put it is that, that hill might become a little bit more of a steeper incline. All you got to do is just keep climbing it. It's going to be a little harder. You might slow down a little bit, but if you keep climbing, you're still going to be up above. You're still going to be up at the top. So like, don't give up because you're like, oh, I'm too old to ever do anything good with my life. Fuck that shit. That's some bullshit.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like these people.
That's such a nihilistic take.
Dude, and that's what it is. It's the internet that's doing that. Like, people look at 30 and they're like, ew, you're old. Why are you on
We came
TikTok?
full circle. Full circle, man. Full fucking circle.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying this. It's like, bro, like, it's insane how, like, being 30 is, like, uncool. And it's like, are you serious? A lot of people don't do a lot of the things they do for the first time until they're 30. You get it, like, in certain regards of life, So it's just like... Stop fucking trying to grow up so goddamn fast and believing everything you see on the internet or that you hear on the internet. Just because Kylie Jenner is a quote-unquote billionaire on the internet doesn't mean that you're going to fucking be. You may never even be a millionaire. Accept that shit. Live your life and love your life, because believing that the internet is your compass for where you should be is a bad place to start your early life. I can tell you that 100%. From experience. I wanted to be a rapper.
Don't be a clout chaser.
Yeah, I spent all my time putting my time into this craft, and though I loved it and I really enjoyed it, at the end of the day, I didn't have the right perspective because I wasn't looking broad enough to say, okay, now there's a million rappers that have condenser microphones and you don't need a studio and XYZ. So the competition was way bigger. So, like, I had to stop believing what I was seeing on the internet, that I could just throw a video on World Star and boom, you're famous. Your ticket's punched. Like, I can tell you from experience, the shit don't work that way. Even with White Bulls, it's an everyday grind. I literally don't even have a job. This is my job. And I put a lot of time and energy into it. Like, don't ever let somebody tell you, oh, yeah, bro, I got lit over 3 weeks. I'm the shit now. Like, they're fucking lying and they're cloud chasing. They want to look way bigger than they are.
100%.
This shit's everyday grind and struggle, blood, sweat, and tears. So don't believe everything you see on the fucking internet. I've reached my quota now.
That is a good thing to close out on.
Exactly.
Do not believe everything you see on the internet. Please do not.
A lot of horse shit out there.
Feel free to keep listening to us because we're your only real source of information. Don't
we tell the facts.
We have the real facts.
Facts.
But yeah, this has been another episode of Feast or Famine. We appreciate you taking your time to listen to us ramble and rant like a bunch of madmen.
And we'll see you next week, where everything will again be on the table.
It'll be all on the table.
Let's fucking go.